In the quiet, dusty village of Ozala, where the red earth stretched far into the horizon and the evening breeze carried stories from one compound to another, there lived a young girl named Adaeze. Ozala was not a rich village. It was a place where people survived through hard work, farming, trading, and hope. Everyone knew everyone, and every family had a story. But among all those stories, none would become as powerful as Adaeze's. Adaeze was just 16 when tragedy struck. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Okeke, were simple, hard-working farmers. They owned a small piece of land where they grew cassava, yam, and vegetables. Though they were not wealthy, their home was always filled with laughter, warmth, and the comforting smell of food cooking on firewood. Then one season, everything changed. A sudden illness swept through the household. It started with their father, then their mother. Within weeks, both of them were gone. The compound that once echoed with laughter became silent. The day of the burial was the darkest day of Adaeze's life. As the villagers gathered and the drums beat slowly in mourning, Adaeze stood beside the graves, holding her siblings close. Chinedu, her immediate younger brother, was only 12. Obinna was 9, and little Amaka, just 5, clung to her wrapper, not fully understanding what had happened. That night, after everyone had gone, after the crying had faded into silence, Adaeze sat outside under the moonlight. She knew, deep in her heart, that her life had changed forever. From that moment, she was no longer just a sister. She became a mother. The days that followed were even harder than the grief. Relatives began to show their true colors. Instead of offering help, they came with hidden intentions. Their father's farmland was taken by a distant uncle who claimed ownership. The goats disappeared one by one. Even kitchen utensils were quietly carried away. Adaeze watched it all happen, helpless but observant. By the time they were done, very little was left. But what they did not take was Adaeze's determination. Life became a daily battle. Adaeze made the most painful decision of her young life. She stopped going to school. Every morning before the first cock crowed, she would wake up. She swept the compound, fetched water from the stream, prepared food, and got her siblings ready for school. Education is your only way out, she would always say. You must not stop. After sending them off, she would rush to the village markets. At first, she did small jobs, carrying loads for traders, cleaning stalls, and helping women arrange their goods. The pay was little, but she saved every coin. Soon, she learned how to fry akara and sell by the roadside. Every evening, you would find her by the roadside in Ozala, standing behind a small fire, her face glowing from the heat, her hands moving quickly as she fried bean cakes for customers. The smoke would sting her eyes, but she enjoyed it. That was her office. That was her survival. There were many nights when food was not enough. Adaeze would serve her siblings first, watching them eat with satisfaction. What about you? Chinedu would ask sometimes. I already ate at the market, she would reply with a gentle smile. But it was a lie. After they slept, she would sit quietly, holding her stomach as hunger gnawed at her. Sometimes, tears would roll down her cheeks, not because she regretted her choices, but because of how hard life had become. Still, she never gave up. Years began to pass, slowly but steadily. Chinedu grew into a responsible and serious young boy. He understood what his sister was sacrificing. He studied harder than anyone in his class, often reading late into the night with a lantern. Obinna was different, full of energy and curiosity. He loved to take things apart and fix them. Broken radios, old lanterns, damaged tools, nothing scared him. Amaka grew up under Adaeze's full care. She barely remembered their parents. To her, Adaeze was everything. Mama Ada, she would call her. And each time she heard that name, Adaeze's heart would melt. Then came another difficult moment. One year, during the heavy rains, Adaeze fell seriously ill. For weeks, she could not go to the markets. The little money they had saved quickly finished. Hunger returned, stronger than before. This time, the children stepped up. Chinedu began teaching younger children in the village, earning small amounts. Obinna started fixing broken items for villagers, using his natural skill. Even little Amaka helped by selling granuts in the evenings. Together, they survived. When Adaeze recovered and saw what her siblings had done, tears filled her eyes. She realized something important. She had not just raised children, she had raised fighters. Years later, a breakthrough came. Chinedu gained admission into a university in the city. It felt like a dream. But there was a problem: money. The school fees were more than they had ever seen. Adaeze did not hesitate. She went into her small wooden box and brought out the last valuable thing she owned, her mother's gold earrings. It was the only memory she had kept all these years. With tears in her eyes, she sold them. "Go and become somebody," she told Chinedu. "That is all I want." Chinedu left Ozala for the city. Life there was not easy either, but he carried his sister's sacrifices in his heart. He studied engineering with everything he had. He did not fail. He graduated as one of the best students in his class. Soon after, he got a job in a big company in Lagos. Back in Ozala, Obinna continued growing his skills. He started as a roadside mechanic. With time, his talent attracted more customers. He saved money, expanded his workshop, and eventually owned one of the biggest mechanic shops in the area. People began to respect him. Then, everything began to change. Money started coming in regularly. Chinedu sent money home every month. Obinna's business brought in steady income. For the first time in many years, life became comfortable. But Adaeze remained the same. She still lived in the old house. She still woke up early. She still worked in the markets. She never asked for anything. One day, Chinedu and Obinna made a decision. It was time. On a bright afternoon, a convoy of cars entered Ozala. Villagers gathered amazed. Children ran after the cars, shouting with excitement. The cars stopped in front of Adaeze's small house. She was sitting by her usual spot, frying akara. When she looked up, she froze. Chinedu stepped out dressed in a fine suit. Obinna followed, smiling. "Big sister," Chinedu called softly. Adaeze stood up slowly, her hands shaking. Tears filled her eyes as she walked toward them. That day, the entire village witnessed something unforgettable. They took Adaeze away, not out of Ozala forever, but into a new life. A beautiful house had been built for her in the city. She had everything she never dreamed of: comfort, peace, rest. At the housewarming, Chinedu stood before everyone and said, "This woman is the reason we are alive today. She is our sister, but she chose to become our mother. She gave up her dreams so we could have ours." Obinna added, "Everything we are is because of her sacrifices." The crowd was silent. Some were crying. Adaeze stood there overwhelmed. For the first time in many years, her tears were not from pain, but from joy. Her story spread across Ozala and beyond. People told it to their children. They spoke of a girl who lost everything but refused to give up. A girl who became a mother to Eli. A girl whose sacrifices built greatness. And in the end, Adaeze proved something powerful. Love, sacrifice, and determination can turn even the hardest life into a story of victory. And in the heart of Ozala, her name would never be forgotten.